One song saved a marriage that was already over. Another was recorded by a man who never lived long enough to see the world embrace it. And somewhere on this list is a performance recorded by a man who never lived long enough to see the world embrace it. And somewhere on this list is a performance so heartbreakingly honest that listeners still struggle to hear it without feeling a lump in their throat.
And we don't take no trips on LSD.
These aren't just country hits. They're stories of ordinary people carrying extraordinary pain, wrapped inside melodies that refuse to be forgotten.
Gonna make a big star out of me.
Welcome to Saddle Sound 77, where we uncover the stories behind the greatest country music ever recorded. If you believe the best songs aren't just heard but live, you're in exactly the right place. Number 10. Buck Owens, Act Naturally, 1963. By the time Buck Owens walked into Capitol Studios to record Act Naturally in 1963, he wasn't pretending to understand heartbreak. He had already survived years of rejection, poverty, and the uncertainty that comes with chasing a dream.
He'll make a film about a man that's sad and lonely.
Uncertainty that comes with chasing a dream that almost everyone tells you to abandon. Long before the bright lights of Bakersfield, Owens worked brutal jobs to support his family. Music wasn't paying the bills. There were nights when it seemed like the only audience he would ever have was himself. Then songwriter Johnny Russell arrived with a tune that almost nobody wanted. With a tune that almost nobody wanted. Several artists passed on Act Naturally. They thought the lyrics were too simple, too humorous.
Begging down upon his bended knee.
Too ordinary. But Owens heard something different. He heard the quiet sadness hiding beneath the joke. The narrator isn't really laughing at himself. He's admitting that heartbreak has become so familiar, he could play the role without acting at all. That's what made the song unforgettable. One
Time to go.
little known fact is that Buck Owens initially wasn't convinced it would become a major hit either. The record company certainly didn't expect it to define an entire sound. Yet after its release, it shot to #1 and helped cement the Bakersfield sound as country music's bold answer to Nashville's polished productions.
Well, I bet you I'm gonna be a big star.
Years later, even the Beatles would cover the song, introducing Buck Owens to millions who had never stepped inside a honky-tonk.
Your pleasure.
Whiskey.
Sometimes the simplest songs carry the deepest truths, and this countdown is only beginning. Number 9. Tammy Wynette, Stand By Your Man, 1968.
Sometimes it's hard to...
Few songs have divided listeners quite like Stand By Your Man. Some called it romantic, others called it controversial. But almost nobody understood the emotional storm surrounding Tammy Wynette when she recorded it. Wynette knew what it meant to hold a family together while life pulled it apart. Life pulled it apart. She had worked as a beautician. She had struggled to raise children. She had endured failed relationships before country music ever offered her a stage. Before country music ever offered her a stage. When producer Billy Sherrill helped shape the song, the recording came together astonishingly fast. Much of it was written in less than half an hour. Yet those few minutes would change Tammy's life forever. Many listeners assumed she was preaching about marriage. She insisted she was simply singing from experience. What most people never hear is that the song's success created enormous pressure inside her own personal life. As the record climbed the charts, her marriage to fellow country
Tammy Wynette.
Sometimes
George Jones was already becoming one of country music's most turbulent relationships. The irony was impossible to ignore. The woman asking America to stand by its men was privately watching her own marriage unravel piece by piece. That contradiction gave every performance another layer of authenticity. You weren't hearing an actress. You were hearing someone trying to convince herself as much as the audience. And maybe that's why decades later, people still argue about
Our show, Mrs. Hitmaker, Miss Tammy Wynette.
That's why decades later, people still argue about the song instead of forgetting it. Number 8. Merle Haggard, Okie from Muskogee, 1969.
Smoke marijuana in school.
From Muskogee, 1969. Few country songs have been misunderstood more than Okie from Muskogee. To many Americans, it became an anthem. To others, it became a target. But behind the headlines stood a man whose own childhood looked nothing like the respectable world described in the lyrics. Nothing like the respectable world described in the lyrics. Merle Haggard grew up poor in California after his family fled Oklahoma during the Dust Bowl. His father died when Merle was just 9 years old. The grief sent him spiraling. He stole. He ran away repeatedly. Eventually, he landed behind the walls of San Quentin prison. It was there that everything changed. Watching fellow inmates waste away convinced Haggard that if he ever walked free again, he would make his life mean something.
Holding hands, pitching.
Walked free again, he would make his life mean something. Years later, Okie from Muskogee exploded across America. What many people never knew is that Haggard later admitted the song contained a layer of satire that often disappeared in public debate. He enjoyed observing how different audiences interpreted it completely differently. The conversation surrounding the song sometimes became bigger than the music itself. Yet beneath every political argument was the remarkable story of a former inmate
We don't burn no draft cards down on Main Street.
who had transformed himself into one of country's greatest storytellers. Every note carried the weight of a second chance, and every success reminded listeners that redemption sometimes arrives wearing cowboy boots. Number 7. Jeannie C. Riley, Harper Valley PTA, 1968. Sometimes the biggest revolution begins with a single letter. In 1968, country music was still expected to play by certain rules. Women sang about love, family, and heartbreak. They weren't supposed to challenge authority. Then came Harper Valley PTA, written by Tom T. Hall and recorded by an unknown singer named Jeannie C. Riley. The song tells the story of a widowed mother who is publicly criticized by the local parent-teacher association for the way she dresses and lives. Instead of accepting their judgment, she confronts each of them, exposing their own hidden scandals one by one. It wasn't just a catchy country song.
I can definitely relate to this song now. We're going to take
Country song. It was a bold statement about hypocrisy. What many people don't know is that several record executives believed the song was too
going wild.
controversial to become a hit. They feared radio stations would reject it because it challenged respected community leaders and gave a woman the final word. They couldn't have been more
Years ago when I was a little
wrong. Listeners loved its honesty. Women across America heard something they rarely heard on country radio. A female character who refused to be shamed
don't believe you ought to be bringing up your little girl.
for living life on her own terms. The song became an overnight sensation, reaching number 1 on both the country and pop charts.
I want to tell you all a story about a Harper Valley.
A remarkable achievement that very few country songs had accomplished. Almost overnight, Jeannie C. Riley went from a struggling singer working ordinary jobs
And its report.
to one of the most recognizable voices in America. One little-known fact is that the song became such a cultural phenomenon that it inspired a major motion picture. And later a television series, an extraordinary legacy for a record many believed would never leave the studio. More than half a century later, Harper Valley PTA still feels fearless. Because the best country songs don't just tell stories. Sometimes they hold up a mirror.
Thank you.
Up a mirror. And what that mirror reveals can change everything. Number 6. Johnny Cash, Folsom Prison Blues, 1968 live at prison. There are concerts. Then there are moments that become part of history. When Johnny Cash walked through the gates of Folsom State Prison on January 13, 1968, he wasn't simply entertaining inmates. In many ways, he was confronting the man he might have become. Cash had never served time in prison, despite what many believed. But his battles with addiction, his countless arrests for minor offenses, and years of self-destructive behavior had left him feeling like he belonged among the men in those cells more than the polished audiences filling concert halls. The prison guards expected a routine performance. Instead, they witnessed something unforgettable. The inmates weren't just cheering for a celebrity, they were cheering for someone who understood failure without pretending to be perfect. When Cash sang, "I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die," the room erupted. Critics later questioned whether that applause glorified violence. It didn't. It was recognition. The prisoners knew he was giving voice to the darkness they carried every day. One little-known fact is that Columbia Records was hesitant about recording a live album inside a maximum security prison. Executives feared it could damage Cash's career. Instead, it revived it. The album became one of the greatest comebacks in music history. More importantly, if you thought that story carried enough heartache for one lifetime, the next artist proved that even success can't always silence loneliness. 5. Patsy Cline, Crazy, 1961. Sometimes the greatest love song ever recorded is sung by someone whose own heart has been broken
I'm crazy for feeling
too many times to count. By 1961, Patsy Cline was already one of country music's brightest stars. But behind the elegance, the flawless voice, and the glamorous dresses, was a woman still recovering from a devastating car accident that nearly ended her life. Doctors weren't sure she would ever perform again. She suffered broken ribs, a fractured hip, a deep forehead wound that left a scar she would hide beneath her signature hairstyle for the rest of her career. Many singers would have walked away. Patsy refused. Then came a song written by a struggling songwriter named Willie Nelson. Most publishers thought Crazy was too unusual. Its melody wandered in unexpected directions. Even Patsy found it difficult to record because her injuries made reaching certain notes painfully difficult. Few people know.
Do I let myself worry?
Few people know that the final master recording was pieced together after multiple attempts because she simply couldn't sing the entire song comfortably in one take while recovering. Yet the pain became part of the performance. Every word sounded fragile. Every pause felt real. When listeners heard her ask why she was crazy for feeling so lonely, they weren't just hearing lyrics. They were hearing survival.
Crazy. I'm crazy.
Ironically, Crazy became the biggest hit of her career. Less than 2 years later, Patsy Cline would die in a plane crash at only 30 years old. The song remained. And with every generation that discovers it, her voice somehow feels just as alive as it did in 1961. But if you think fate had already dealt its cruelest hand, the next story reminds us that some songs were born from unimaginable sacrifice.
He said, I'll love you till I...
Number 4. George Jones, He Stopped Loving Her Today, 1980. Yes, this song belongs to another decade, but its roots
He kept her pictures on his wall.
stretch deep into the heartbreak, traditions, and storytelling that defined country music in the 1960s. Without that era, this masterpiece would never have
Did it 1962.
belongs to another decade, but its roots stretch deep into the heartbreak, traditions, and storytelling that defined country music in the 1960s. Without
I watched the years pass slow.
Without that era, this masterpiece would never have existed. By the late 1970s, George Jones was a legend in danger of becoming a tragedy.
When half crazy, now
A tragedy. His drinking had become infamous. Concert promoters never knew whether he would show up. Friends worried more about his survival than his career.
soon they'll carry him.
Many in Nashville believed he was finished. Then songwriter Bobby Braddock brought him He Stopped Loving Her Today. George Jones hated it. He thought it was too sad.
Soon they'll
Too sad. Too slow. Too depressing to become a hit. He reportedly told people nobody would ever want to hear a song about a man who loved someone until the day he died. Producer Billy Sherrill disagreed. He fought for the song. Recording it took months because Jones's
He stopped loving her today.
Jones's personal struggles often kept him out of the studio. One remarkable fact is that portions of the vocal were recorded at completely different times and carefully stitched together because
Kept hoping she'd come back again.
of the chaotic circumstances surrounding the sessions. When the song was finally released, everything changed. It became one of the most celebrated recordings in country music history.
They'll carry him away.
Even George Jones later admitted he had been completely wrong. The song resurrected his career when almost everyone had stopped believing in him. Sometimes an artist doesn't recognize the masterpiece they're creating. Thankfully, someone else does. And if number 4 has taught us anything, it's that the greatest country songs aren't simply
He said, I'll love you.
written, they're lived. To be continued in part 3, number 3 to number 1, featuring the 3 most emotional country classics of the 1960s.
Buys a worn-out suit and shoes. I don't
And the unforgettable number 1 that will bring this countdown to its powerful conclusion. Number 3, Roger Miller, King of the Road, 1965.
rooms to let 50 cents.
On the surface, King of the Road sounds almost cheerful. A man with no money, no home, no worries. But listen closely, and another story begins
Trailers.
to emerge. Roger Miller wasn't celebrating poverty. He was finding dignity in it. long before he became one of country music's most beloved songwriters.
Trailer.
Miller knew what it meant to struggle. He lost his father at an early age and spent much of his childhood moving between relatives. Stability was something other people seemed to have.
Suit and shoes. I don't pay no.
He joined the army, drifted through odd jobs, and chased a music career that often felt just out of reach. Then inspiration arrived from an unlikely
Trailers for sale or rent.
place. One little-known fact is that Miller came up with the idea after noticing a sign outside a roadside property that read, "Trailers for sale or rent." That
For sale or rent.
simple phrase sparked one of the most memorable opening lines in country music history. Instead of writing a song about wealth, he wrote about freedom. Instead of
Every town and every lock that ain't locked when
self-pity, he chose humor. That choice made all the... Number 2. Johnny Cash, Ring of Fire, 1963. Some songs sound like... Some songs sound like celebration. Ring of Fire sounds like survival. When Johnny Cash recorded it in 1963, listeners heard
And it makes
a bold new sound. The unmistakable blast of mariachi-style horns made it unlike anything country radio had embraced before. But behind
I fell into a ring of fire.
that unforgettable melody was a love story that almost never happened. The song was written by June Carter and Merle Kilgore, inspired by June's growing
Burns, burns, the ring of fire.
feelings for Cash, at a time when both of them were tied to complicated lives. She later described falling in love with Johnny as being caught in a ring of fire, a passion that was as frightening as it was irresistible. Cash was battling addiction. His career was becoming increasingly unpredictable. The man who
I went down, 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 and the flames
would
went
later become known as the Man in Black was, at that moment, struggling to keep his life from falling apart. Many people don't know that Johnny first heard the song as
the ring of fire, the ring of fire.
a slow ballad recorded by June's sister, Anita Carter. Cash believed it was missing something. He famously said that if no one else recorded it with horns, he would do it himself. His producer thought the idea was risky. Country radio had never heard anything quite like it, but Cash trusted his instincts. The gamble paid off. Ring of Fire became one of the biggest hits of his career and remains one of the most recognizable songs in country music history. More importantly,
Fell into a burning ring of fire.
it marked the beginning of one of music's greatest love stories. Johnny and June would eventually marry, standing by each other through addiction, recovery, faith, and decades of unforgettable performances. The fire that nearly consumed him became the light that guided him home. And yet, even that remarkable story cannot match the quiet heartbreak of the woman waiting at number 1. Number 1. Patsy Cline, I Fall to Pieces, 1961. Some songs become hits. Others become heartbreak preserved forever. I Fall to Pieces was almost never recorded. Several artists turned it down, believing it was too slow, too emotional, too old-fashioned for changing musical tastes. Patsy Cline heard something different. She heard truth. When she recorded it, she wasn't simply performing another love song. She was giving a voice to everyone who had ever smiled in public while quietly falling apart inside.